Ladies, gents, non-binary friends, hi, hello, it's me, Nox. So, we're going to be doing something a little different on the channel here. Instead of playing video games like I normally do, we're going to read a book. It's my favorite series by Tamora Pierce called the Beka Cooper series. And the first book in that series is called Terrier. Prologue. From the Journal of Ellen E. Cooper, resident with her 6-year-old son George Cooper of Spindle Lane, Lower City, Chorus, the realm of Tortall. March 18, 406, H.E., the human error. In all those lessons for which I was made to memorize chants and prayers I never used, couldn't our temple priestesses have taught one, just one lesson on what to do with a boy who is too smart for his own good? I am at my wit's end. My George was taken up for stealing, and I had to go to the Jane Street guard station. I thought I might die of the shame. I know it is this place and the friends he makes here. Even the families who do not teach their children of the secrets of theft look the other way because it puts food on the table. And I am too newly come. I cannot tell them. Keep your children away from my son. Do not let them teach him to steal. I want him to rise in the world. We are poor now, but I pray we will not always be so, and I cannot afford a better place to live. My family will not have me back, not after our last meeting. So I am left here, trying to raise a lad who sees and hears and thinks too much in the city's worst slum. At the station there, my scapegrace was seated on a bench with the guard who caught him. There was but a handful of coins left on a counter, Mistress Cooper, the guard said, and I recovered them all. It's his first time, and I owe you for making my wife's labor so easy. He looked at George. Next time, it's the cages for you, and maybe a work farm, he warned. Don't go making your good mother weep. I grabbed George's arm and towed him out of there. We'd no sooner passed through the gate into the street when he tells me, "Up till 100 years ago, they was called dogs, Ma." He was talking broad, lower city slang, knowing it made me furious. You know why they changed it? They thought folk mightn't respect them if they went about calling them after curs like they done for 300. I boxed his ears. I'll have no history lessons from you, Master Scamp, I cried. Tried beyond my sense of dignity. You'll keep your tongue between your teeth. Everyone we passed was smirking at us. They knew our tale, knew I'd been dismissed from the temple. They believed I thought myself better than they were, because I kept my home and my child as clean as may be, and taught him his letters. Let them think it. We will not always live in the cesspool. My George is meant for better things. Thieving is not among them, I swear it. When I got him to our rooms, I let him go. He stared at me with his hazel eyes, so like mine. The beaky nose and square chin were his father's, a temple worshipper I saw but for one night. George would be the kind of man women would think was so homely he was handsome. If he lived. I had to make certain he would live. The shame of it, I told him. George Cooper, how am I to face folks stealing? My son stealing. He looked at me boldly in the face. We're getting no richer from your healing and magic, and Ma. I hate being hungry all the time. That cut me. I knew he was hungry. Did I not divide my share so he had more? And it still wasn't enough. So he would not see me in tears, and because he needed it, I sat on our chair and I turned my rascal over my knee. I gave him the spanking of his young life. I stood him on his feet again. His chin trembled, but he refused to cry. The problem is, my lad and I are too much alike. There's more important things than wealth, I said, trying to make him listen. There's our family name, us above all, George. We don't take to thieving. I had thought to wait until he was old enough to understand to tell him about Beka Cooper, but I believed the goddess's voice in me was saying it was time. He needed to hear this. I took down the shrine from the wardrobe top, where I kept it safe from small boys. I opened the front to show him the tiny figures of the ancestors. See how many of our great-grandfathers wore the uniform of the provost guard? What would our famous ancestress say if she knew one of her descendants was a common thief? We got a famous ancestress? George asked, rubbing his behind. I picked up Rebecca's small, worn statue. I took it out often when I was a girl because she was a woman of all the ancestors who wore the black tunic and breeches of the guard. There was the cat at her feet, the purple dots of paint that were in its eyes worn away, just as the pale blue paint for her eyes was worn away. The shrine was old, given to me by my great-aunt when I was dedicated to temple service. I showed him the figure. Beka Cooper, I said, your 6 times great-grandmother, famed in her day for her service as a provost guard. She was fierce and law-abiding and loyal, my son, all that I want for you. And she was doom on lawbreakers, particularly thieves. Steal and you shame her. Yes, Ma, George said quietly. Remember her, I told him, giving his shoulders a little shake. Respect her. Respect me. He put his arms around my waist. I love you, Mother, he said. Now he talked perfectly, as he'd been taught. He helped me to clean up from the medicine making and to make supper. It is only in writing this day that I realize he never said anything about thieving. No, he will obey me. He is a good boy, and I will make an offering to my goddess to guide him on Beka Cooper's path. From the Journal of Mistress Eloni Cooper, mother of Beka Cooper, resident of Provost House, Palace Way and Golden Way, Forest, the realm of Tortall. November 13, 240. My heart is the better for this day. When my Beka told me the pigeons talked to her, I feared she was mad. I feared my lady would lock her up, as my lady does not like Beka. Beka makes my lord like being a common dog too much. I thought to take Beka to my husband's mother. Granny Fern would know that there is madness in his blood. So I took Beka there today and left the little ones with Maya. Beka had bread in her pocket and fed pigeons all the way to Clover Lane. She says the birds say where there was killed. I feared someone of Provost's house would see the bread and say she stole it. When I told Granny Fern why we came, Granny laughed. She is no more mad than me, she says. Beka has the magical gift, though some say it's not the gift exactly. It's not biddable. You have it or you don't. Beka's father had it, and his sister and uncle before him. I said a prayer to the goddess. My girl is not mad. Gifted is not good, but it's better than mad. Granny Fern made Beka churn her butter. Beka thumped the churn so hard. Granny Fern told her, you can tickle the magic a bit. You need to, girl. Elsewise, the ghosts that bred the birds will drive you mad with talk you only hear part way. Pigeons carry the dead. Them as died sudden. Them as had business to do. Them as got murdered, Beka says. Pigeons are the black god's messengers, Granny says. They gather souls to take to the peaceful realms, but some won't go. They hold to the bird until they see what's become of them, and they talk. Some of what they say is useful, Beka. That's why you must learn how to hear those voices. Have you heard other voices, Beka, on street corners, mayhap? I don't know, says Beka. Let's go see, says Granny. We finished the butter first because it don't wait. Then Granny took us to the street corner, but to 2 blocks from her house. A dust spinner was there, spinning leaves and dirt around and about like a small whirlwind. Your father named it Hashfush, Granny says, or told us his name is Hashfush. He's one of the dust spinners that never goes away. Step in and listen, Beka. Beka never argues with Granny Fern, only with me. Into the spinner she walked. What if she chokes? I asked. She won't, says Granny. She has the air gift. The dust spinner got small. Beka came out a mess. I have to wash her, I says. My lady will have a fit. Beka looked at Granny. Hashfush is alive. He told me everything he heard. Then he got happy. Next time, bring him dirt from other parts of the city, Granny says. Your father said he liked that. Eloni sent her to me in the afternoon. I will teach Beka how to hear the ghosts and the dust spinners. It's writ down in a book of the family. She can tame it, but listening, she isn't mad. So I was so afeared for my Beka. I know I will die from this rot in my chest. My children must make their own way then. Beka will have the hardest time. She was in the lower city for too long. Magic will help. Even friends that are birds and street wind and dirt will help. From the Journal of Matthias Tunstall, Provost Guardsman, resident of Rowan's Lodgings, Bott Street, Patton District, Chorus, the realm of Tortall. November 13, 244. Tonight my Lord Gershom took Clary and me to supper at Naxon's Fancy. It was his way of thanking us for bringing down Bloody Jock. I would have done more than hobble him and bring him for a court to sentence. The scummer would rob a couple, killing the man and kissing the woman while her man was lying there. It was our 3rd supper at Naxon's Fancy. Me and Clary could never afford the place on our own. But when we wind up big cases, we get a fine dinner there with my lord. So the wine was flowing well, and there was brandy after supper. We were all feeling good, and Clary asked the thing we both always wanted to know. How did my lord manage to hobble the Bull Brass gang 6 years back? Seemed for a year they roamed Prettybone, Highfields, and Unicorn districts, helping themselves to the treasures of folk who pay the road not to be burgled. There was even talk that His Majesty was looking for a new Lord Provost. Then suddenly there was the whole gang in chains. My lord with new estates awarded by the king, and the vice provost transferred to a command on the Scanran border. What stories did you hear? My lord asked with that little smile, like he'd know it was a very good joke. We tell the ones we heard most. One of the bold brass women caught her man with someone else. A palace mage lowered himself to dog work to get revenge on the gang for robbing him. The gang had killed a horse some duke loved, and he paid for the mages himself. My lord starts a laughing. None of those are right, he says. It was a little girl only 8 years old. I looked at my glass of brandy. This stuff is better than the swill I'm used to, I say. I could have sworn you said the bold brass gang got took down by an 8-year-old. My lord nodded and says she took against one of them. He was living with her mama. When he found out her mama had lung rot, he beat her up and took all she had of value. The girl dogged him like you two would do it. Kept out of his sight. If she lost him, she just found him later at his favorite places. How'd she know he'd be worth all that? Clary wants to know. Why not just stick a knife in him? My lord says. The piece of pig turd gave her mama jewelry he couldn't have come by honest. Then took it back when he left. Yeah, Clary says, she's gotta be from the cesspool. Those cesspool little ones know what kind of bubbles be down there and what don't. My lord goes on. So Beka, that's her name. Beka Cooper. Finally dogs him all the way back to where he's met up with his mates. She spies on them and knows she has the den of the bold brass gang. Then she goes to her nearest dog. Only this dog don't believe her. Clary mutters, probably day watch. My partner thinks the only dog's worth bothering with work, but evening watch, like us. The lord says, so Beka goes to her kennel, but they laugh at her. She even tries to tell my vice provost. He has her tossed in the street. He thought she was trying to witch him. Becca's no mage, but she has these light blue-gray eyes. When she's angry, it's like looking into a well of ice. She was angry by then. It's unnerving in a little girl, but she can't help her eyes. So one day I'm riding through the day market, and this mite of a child grabs my Oso by the bridle. You know Oso, he doesn't like surprises. I almost drew steel on her before I saw she was a child and how Oso calmed down when she talked to him. She was telling me if I wanted the bold brass gang, I'd best listen to her. My vice provost is ready to take whip to the girl. Meantime, I feel like I'm looking into the eyes of a 1,000-year-old ghost. Unlike my vice provost, I'm not spooked. I listen to her, and she doesn't. She gives me the bold brass gang. Then she thinks she can disappear, but I know a trick or two of my own. I find her home and her family. The Coopers are living in my household now. Meaning no disrespect, my lord, but why, I ask? A handful of gold shows you're grateful. He shakes his head. A mother with lung rot and my healer says she can't be helped. It's too far along. 5 bright, promising little ones. Beka is the oldest, all in some mutt-piddle lane midden. The mother's an herbalist on her good days, but those are going to run out. I had an idea Beka was already learning to steal. His Majesty was about to find a new provost. I owed that ice-eyed mite. Beka Cooper saved me from disgrace. I think she'll make a good dog when she's old enough. Her brothers and sisters will do well in the world, given a chance, and her mother will die in comfort. I believe in thanking the gods for saving my position. My lord raises his glass. I love being Lord Provost. We raise ours. We're glad to have you, Clary says. Who else takes notice of the dogs who do the work? Now I can't get that story out of my head. Dog in a cove like that when she was only 8. I hope if she does go for the provost guard that she doesn't think she knows all there is to what we do. She'll quit soon enough if she does. I hope my lord doesn't build her up that way. She'll die of boredom and wash out before she's been in the work for a month. Or she'll think because she did it once and did it young that she knows it all. Then she'll just get herself killed and maybe any other dogs who are with her too. Thank you everyone for hanging out with me while I read you all a book. That is the first chapter of, the first handful of chapters of Terrier by Tamora Pierce. We will go continue the story next time. Thanks so much for hanging out. Love you guys. Bye.